Hey all, and welcome to the newly renamed Harsh Dose of Liberty channel. Uh, we had to come up with a name eventually. This one seems to be appropriate. Um, it is officially September 11th, and there is no real good greeting for that. You're not going to wish somebody a happy 9/11. That's just not a good thing. But of course, we never want to forget uh, those that fell, and we want to, whatever your religion or beliefs are, send them out to those people that fell and their surviving families, and those that survived the tragedy itself altogether. Um, Beyond that, there is no good way to say this without sounding like a complete and utter douchebag. But while I don't want to forget what happened, it was terrible, and there was definitely a need for vengeance, justice, whatever you want to call it. How long are we going to continue with it? I still see memes, posts, and things like that about how this is the justification for us still being in the Middle East and going after those dirty ragheads and their families and so on and so forth. And it begs the question, how much is enough? We have spent thousands, I'm not talking about the victims either, I'm talking about since then. We have spent thousands, tens of thousands of lives, trillions of dollars, and we still have a presence there. The war never seems to end. There's always one more bad guy, and the Taliban has come back. And now it's spread to Syria, and we had to go and get this guy and that guy, and there's terrorism still there. And how long are we going to let this go on? I mean, honestly, if it's such a horrible situation, if we really need to go after all these people and get our revenge, end terrorism, which, how do you declare war on a war tactic? I'm sorry, but why are we not just obliterating everything there? I'm not saying that's what I want, but if we're trying to send a message that you will not mess with us, why have we not pulled out all the stops? What are we actually doing there? Because obviously we are not putting a dent in terrorism, which is supposedly the whole reason why we are there. If we want to succeed, we either have to pull out all the stops and mow everything down, and I mean right down to pulling a Genghis Khan and leaving nothing alive. Not exactly something that we want the United States to be remembered for. Yes, we want to show our strength. We want to show that we're not a country to be messed with. But is that how we want history to remember us? We're supposed to be that shining light on the hill where people come to escape that sort of a thing. And yet, if you go on any social media platform today, listen to just about any opinion broadcast on any major media network, you're going to hear somebody pounding the drums of war, saying, no, it's not enough yet. We have to do this. We have to do that. We have to go and wipe them all out. Never forget. My favorite one happens to be a meme that shows the Twin Towers getting hit and saying something along the lines of, this is why I don't care about collateral damage. Really? That's what you want America to be remembered for. I'm sorry. It just, for all the talk of how we strive for peace, and I have no problem with peace through strength, but when is it enough? When are we going to finally pull our troops home? We are losing more in the battlefield every day, and then when they come home with PTSD, we are losing them by the truckload every single day because of the horrors they've experienced over there, and because of chemical agents and other things that they're experiencing over there. They don't even know all the reasons why our men and women in uniform come home and lose it. It's horrible. It's bad enough that we have them coming home in pieces, missing limbs, missing, losing their sight, losing their hearing, coming back less than whole physically. But then they're not the same upstairs. And it's not something to make fun of or make light of. War is literally hell. I don't think any of our troops fear going to hell. They've been there already. And they come home and they continue to face it. I don't know how they do it. I don't care what kind of trauma you've been through. There's not much that could equate to the hell that they go through. So we had all these promises that we were going to bring them home. And maybe we rushed it. But there are those that say we stayed way too long even back then. That mission was accomplished. And no, I'm not talking about the big banner that George Bush had on the aircraft carrier. I'm not talking about all the photo ops that Obama ever had about when he was going to bring the troops home. And yes, I'm a strong president and we're going to prove that it's over because we're going to bring our troops home. And I'm not talking about even Donald Trump's rush to war that he's doing now with bringing up troop counts. It needs to end one way or the other. We don't have to surrender. I think we've proven our point that you poke the bear, you're going to get bit. But how many more people on both sides do we have to lose? I'm sorry, there comes a point in time where collateral damage is too expensive. We can't keep destroying their roads and their cities and their schools and their hospitals And yes, the terrorists do that too. But we can't keep having that all destroyed and rebuilding it. We can't afford it. We're over $20 trillion in debt. We've got I'm sorry, no, let's count the fires and all that as well. We've got 2 hurricanes and our entire Northwest up through Montana and all the way down to California. It's on fire. We're going to need to pay for that somehow. But we're going to continue sending our troops off on countless missions. We're going to keep sending contractors over there to rebuild after those countless missions. Where's the money going to come from? From the taxation that we inflict on people. It's not there, folks. They could tax us 100%, every last one of us. Wouldn't put a dent in the national debt. So where is the money going to come from? And you can say, like all the people that were arguing over my gouging video, that people will pitch in, that, the kindness of the citizens of the United States would take care of things. Great. But with what? Okay? You can only give so much before you don't have anything left yourself. We're not a socialist nation, we're a capitalist nation, and even if we were a socialist nation, the money's got to come from somewhere. The time has to come from somewhere. Compassion only goes so far. You can only give so much until you are just literally a husk. So where's it all going to come from? You're going to go looking at big daddy government to come in and save the day? Look what happened in Katrina. Look what's happening with the government efforts and quasi-government efforts like the Red Cross down in Texas. What's going to happen with the folks in Florida is still kind of up for debate, but for the most part, a lot of those shelters are beginning to resemble what happened in the Superdome after Katrina. I haven't heard anything about, rapes and murders like happened in the Superdome, but it's a police state in those shelters. You're going through metal detectors. You've got guards manning balcony areas inside the shelters like it was a prison. And it's hard enough to get anything out of the Red Cross these days anyway, but when they give you that oh so wonderful hygiene pouch with your toothpaste and your soap, they're confiscating that stuff as you go in the shelters. Good job, government. All in the name of safety and security. So where is all the help going to come from? How are we going to pay for it all? 9/11 was horrible. Nobody's disputing that. But this is the longest war in our history by a wide margin. And there's no end in sight. And the sad thing is, and excuse me for sounding all Alex Jones here, nutbag that he is, but the conspiracies start to make sense. Every time the news cycle starts making the politicians look bad, more troops are going over there to take the the news away from whatever the politicians have done that have made everybody so upset. Even after World War II, in less time than we've been at war against terror, in that roughly 16, going on 17 years, 17 years after World War II, not only were we at peace with Germany and Japan, they were allies. Strong allies. Didn't even take half that time. Yeah, there was resentment. I can't tell you how many people that fought in the Pacific that I knew personally that referred to any Japanese citizen that they met, or even an American citizen of Japanese descent, as a dirty nip, or people from Germany that people that fought the Germans still refer to them as dirty Krauts, among other expletives. But for the most part, we got past our differences. We learned to work together. I don't care what you think about Islam and Muslims and their religion. There are still a lot of good people over there that don't want the terrorists there, that would be more than happy to help us if we would stop bombing the shit out of them. So this is not me saying get over 9/11. There is no getting over it. But it's time to grow. It's time to move past the hatred. It is time to declare peace. Let's take the high ground like the great nation we are and declare peace. It's not surrender. It's not showing weakness. And we can leave the harsh warning that, like we always do, about don't poke the bear. But it is time to bring our troops home. The best way we can honor those that fell on 9/11 is to show what a great nation we are. So I welcome your comments, criticisms. Call me an idiot, call me an asshole, whatever you want to do in the comments. I can take it. I've got a thick skin. And for those of you that do agree with me, like what you've heard, or even if you don't, you can always use the support for the show. So please check out my Patreon account, Harsh Dose of Liberty. Also renamed the YouTube channel, the same thing. And based on the fact that we've had all these disasters going on, I'm sorry, I don't feel too guilty about shilling for my Thrive Life account, which I will also put in the comments and for you to be able to click on and try and be prepared for the next disaster. This is not me saying I told you so. This is just telling me telling you next time, be prepared. And until next time, folks, taxation is theft. Have a good night.